Well, with a new brute, well, not so new, just now missing an arm, entering the world of Flesh and Blood, I wanted to go ahead and do some deck techs on something that I had built for Commoner and for Clash for Kayo, one of the new heavy hitters out in Flesh and Blood. Let's go ahead and take a look at the decks and see exactly where my mind's at, and you guys can then let me know what you think about the decks. Alrighty, welcome in everybody. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. I know I am. As you all know, we are here to check out some great budget content for Flesh and Blood. I know the cost of entry for some people is a little rough when it comes to Classic Constructed, although there are ways to kind of get around that and skirt those boundaries. But I still believe that even playing at a low budget level like Commoner and even Clash, which we will see later, it helps a new player learn how to kind of grasp the idea of the hero itself. There are several different heroes in the game. There's due to be like 15 new heroes just this year alone. So it is very important to understand the concept of not just the hero, but also more specifically the class, what the class wants to do and how things work as far as their mechanics. Now, brutes are certainly something else, right? Because brutes, not a lot of people were playing them except for brute mains. Brute mains were playing them a lot because, you know, when you're a fan of the brute class, you're a fan of the brute class. That's what it's all about. But something that is really, really important is knowing kind of how they work and giving you a general idea. So that's what this is hopefully going to teach you a little bit about. But I'm also going to go ahead and show you how to upgrade this deck from Commoner to Clash. Not too much changes in that regard. You just get a couple more cooler cards for your deck. But for the most part, you're looking at roughly the exact same kind of list with the same exact premise. So it is really awesome to see those upgrades. And hopefully, if you guys are looking to check out Clash, you can make those small little upgrades and be able to play with your friends, or maybe even join the Clash Bash that's happening. As of right now, we currently have one happening, but if you want to go ahead and join one later on down the line, you can always go ahead and join our Discord down in the description, and you can join that there. So first, let's go over our Commoner deck list, kind of show this off what you guys are looking for. So first and foremost, $10, right? Obviously, most of these decks are probably going to be about $10 because it's all common cards and rare equipment because this isn't Clash. First, I wanted to get the elephant in the room situation taken care of. Ballbreaker. This is the card I am choosing for the weapon for KO and not Mandible Claw. Now, as much as I would like for Mandible Claw to be the card to play here, in most cases with Brute, you're normally able to get 1 to 2 attacks taken care of in the matter of a turn. With the go-agains or the agility tokens you'll be making, but normally not 3. It's very hard to do a 3-attack kind of combo. Now, obviously it can happen, but the odds are incredibly low, especially in Commoner and Clash. Now, Classic Constructed, I could see running Mandible Claw, because obviously with Blood Rush Bellows and several other big turns that exist in Classic Constructed with the power level being significantly higher, you are going to see those changes. But for this, I think Ballbreaker is definitely a better choice because even if you're only able to play 1 attack and then Ballbreaker, Ballbreaker comes in for 4 because in most turns you're going to be discarding a 6. So with that being the case, you have the opportunity to then attack with a big attack and then attack with a card that gets in for a breakpoint. Because while 2 for 4 isn't like the best value, 2 for a breakpoint is at least a little bit, right? It's like a half point of additional value because in most cases, especially in lower life, you know, that 4 damage does a lot. You know, you're either going to be able to sneak 1 of that damage through because your opponent's going to want to keep cards in their hand, or your opponent's going to have to use a D-react or a block card to block out the entirety of your attack. And if they have to do that, Like that's still value on your end. Threatening 4 as opposed to threatening 3 is definitely the better call there, I think. And then moving on to the rest of the kind of staple equipment, we have beaten trackers for our feet. Obviously, beaten trackers is a little weird here. I thought about playing flat trackers instead, but I believe beaten trackers is still the move because instead of blade break, it has battle worn, which is really great. It means you can still block 1 damage and be able to use its ability whenever you can. And then on top of it, it's still whenever you discard a random card with 6 or more power, you can get an action point by destroying this. Now, as a reminder, this is discard at random only. So only cards like Wild Ride and Bear Fangs, any of those things that have you discard a card at random, those cards are the ones that will activate beaten trackers. Discarding an Agile Windup into Grave does not activate beaten trackers, just as a reminder. Goliath Gauntlet and Heartened Crossstrap. This is just kind of the nice little combo here. I thought about running Raw Meat instead of Heartened Crossstrap because it blocks for 2 in most cases, but Heartened Crossstrap is just super good, especially into fields in which you might be you might have to block a little bit more. Being able to have a Wild Ride come in for free, draw discard, and then be able to do something else as opposed to having to have just a 1 red Wild Ride in hand and do nothing is kind of bad. So Heartened Crossstrap kind of allows you to use those non-block cards to still attack with if you can. And then, of course, Goliath Gauntlet is a great way to pump those as well. So if you're looking to just pump up cards, I like Goliath Gauntlet for that too. Knucklehead is the only really crazy upgrade that Kayo's getting right now. Knucklehead is a very, very cool headpiece for Kayo. The more important part about this headpiece is that it's got temper, but it also has this really cool, luck stat here, where if you destroy this, you can destroy it as an action to then roll a 6-sided die, and then to the end of the turn, your intellect is the number rolled, which is really cool because if you happen to roll a 5 or a 6, you get a crazy big hand at the end of your turn that you can go crazy with in your next turn, right? You can block out efficiently and still come in with a really powerful attack. You might have extra blues to block out things like arcane damage, and that's the case, right? And then, of course, you have a 4, which is just your regular intellect. The downside of this, obviously, is that if you plan to use its ability and you get a 1 through a 3, well, you better hope that you pulled something kind of okay, or at least your opponent also pulled garbage, because if that's the case, you're probably not winning it. So now moving down here to the main deck, you'll see, okay, of course, 40 cards. We'll go over the sideboard real quick, actually, just because it's really small. Sideboard, 7 cards, 2 Oasis Respite, and Null Rune stuff for the Arcane matchups. Obviously, Kano is pretty insane in Commoner, as well as Icelander. So being able to run things like this, Oasis Respite's going to allow you to block out a lot of that damage from Aether Ice Veins, and you're really only going to want to use this with Aether Ice Vein, but of course it does allow you to gain more life back, and you can still prevent 4 damage from big attack that they have. They're only going to have 2 red Aether Ice Veins. Everything outside of that's probably going to be a yellow or a blue, and you'd more than likely be able to block out most of that with what you have here. Now, I thought about also running Arcane Lantern instead of this Mandible Claw as the AB4, because AB4 is fine. I don't know. I'm not sure entirely on if that's the move I want to take, but that's that there. So we do have Mandible Claw and Barkbone Strapping. Barkbone Strapping is if we want to get more resources into stuff, and of course we just need a little bit more defense because Heartened Crosstrap does not block for anything, but this blocks for 1 and has the possibility to get us anywhere between 3, 2, or even maybe 1 resource extra, which isn't terrible, especially at instant speed. It's either this or Heartened Crossstrap. Heartened Crossstrap could possibly get us 2 resources. Heartened Crossstrap guarantees us 2 resources. Barkbone Strapping possibly could get us 2 resources, but it could also possibly get us 3, or it could possibly get us 1. So, it's up to the gambler, right? I don't think I have enough brute heart in me to run that in main, but you guys in Commoner let me know how you feel about it. So let's go to the main deck real quick. So of course we run all 6 of the Agile Windups. This card is really, really good into the deck. Just discard it. You get a Might and an Agility token whenever you do this. Crazy, crazy good, especially when you do it on your turn, because you don't get the might token if it's not your turn. So if you're going to use this agile windup, try to use it on your turn. You get a might and an agility token for next turn, and then you can be able to kind of set up for your next turn. The card is a little expensive to play at 3, right? 3 resources for you to play any of these agile windups, but they do come in for quite a bit of damage. So that is the case. These blues are all going to be 6s in your deck and in your hand, but they do not pop anything, just as a record. For those of you who do not know, because you're going to be going against Phantasm and stuff like that, a blue 5 does not pop a Phantasm card because it is not a 6 on the combat chain. So that is very important to keep in mind when you are playing Kayo into Illusionists. Next, we run the Rainbow of Assault and Battery. Again, this is another way for us to get those agility tokens to get go again on our first attack of our turn. Again, a little expensive still, but the damage is very, very good. It blocks for 3, and it activates Beat Chest. That way we discard a 6, we get a might, and then we get an agility because we beat chest. Trying to get both of those tokens every single turn is kind of our play here. I am playing 2 copies of Awakening Bellow. This was originally Lead with Speed, but I'm no longer running Lead with Speed. And the reason I'm not running Lead with Speed anymore is strictly because I feel like it didn't do enough. It gets you an agility, sure, but I feel like the Intimidate, especially in lower health formats, is better in most cases. And Awakening Bellow only works on attack actions you play, so it doesn't buff your weapon like Lead with Speed would. I feel like this is a great way to kind of still just grab a card from your opponent's hand, throw it down into the Banished Zone, and then work from there. Bear Fangs, we're running the yellow and the reds of Bear Fangs here. So, of course, this is a pretty staple. You see these in classic constructed decks, but being able to draw and discard is incredibly powerful compared to just discarding. You'll see that we have cards in here that just discard. You have to discard in order to play them, but cards that draw discard are really, really powerful because it essentially nets you're net neutral in your value there because you get to draw a 6, discard a 6. You still have the same amount of cards in your hand. The only difference is that your pitch values may change. You may end up discarding a blue and then drawing a red, which could change your turn dramatically, but a lot of your stuff is like 2 and 1, and then you have some more expensive stuff that comes in for 3. Madcap Charger. Now, this card I'm still on the fence about this card because, as you can see here, to play it, you need to discard a random card. But it only costs 1, which is incredibly good, right? It only costs 1. You can play it, discard a random card, and if it's a 6 or more, it has go again. In most cases, it will be a 6. So this is at least 5, 6 if you have a might token or more, go again for 1. That's an insane amount of value, honestly. You get a might token for your next turn, but I'm not sure of its actual value entirely. I feel like there's the cards that, like I said, the cards that just discard a random card are worse than the cards that draw discard. So if this drew and then discarded, it would be a way better wild ride and we wouldn't have to worry about that. But blocks for 3, get some stuff out there. Pack Hunt, attack when this attacks, Intimidate. So again, another little Intimidate factor. If you're able to come in and you can Awakening Bellow and then Pack Hunt, you get a double Intimidate on a turn. It's going to be incredibly powerful if you're able to set that up because double Intimidate is good. I don't think many people are expecting that in KO. Pack Hunt, of course, is a 6 in here. It blocks for 3. You can even use it as just like your first attack to come in. You Pack Hunt for 6, and then you have your agility token to go into your next attack. So now they're intimidated with a card, and you can come in with like an Assault and Battery or Pound Town. Pound Town is just like Assault and Battery. We only run the reds and the blues for this one, though. This one is, again, it's beat chest, but you get a might token. And if you've already beaten chest, then you get a might token. So if for some reason, I don't know how this would be. I guess you'd have to have like the best blue hand. But if you were able to Assault and Battery, pitch 3, discard a 6, you can then pitch 3 more to come in with Pound Town, and you'll get a might and an agility token because you've already beaten chest through Assault and Battery. The same works both ways if you have an agility token already. So It is nice. This card is probably the most the most beautiful card out of everything here. Predatory Assault, a little like combat trick you can use with this here is you can go ahead and you can play Awakening Bellow, and then you can discard one of your Agile windups to then have Predatory Assault come in for 9 with Dominate. 9 Dominate's pretty good. Predatory Assault is not anything to be messed around with. Let me tell you, this is a really, really good card because if you have discarded a card with 6 or more, it gains Dominate. So you're not able to, and I don't think the timing works out to where you're able to like trick them to be like, oh, this is just 6, no Dominate. Just kidding. Because the second your opponent commits blocks, that's when you have priority to then pitch for that. So I think you're better off just pitching the Agile windup or discarding the Agile windup. Sorry, I should stop saying pitching for discarding. Discard the Agile windup, play Awakening Bellow, play Predatory Assault, 9 Dominate. It's a great way to end out turns. Dominate's just an insane keyword and commoner, as Bravo players would know. Savage Swing is another card we play. As an additional cost, discard a random card. So you're at least getting a might token in most cases. And 1 for 7, like that's a good turn ender, right? You got to have the cards in your hand, but it's a great way to end your turn. We are running the Wage Agility in here. This one I'm not sure if I want to keep because it costs 3 to attack for 7, which is on rate for most of our stuff. But it only blocks for 2, and you have to wager the agility token. The only reason I like this card is strictly because wage agility, like wagering an agility token, is in most cases something where your opponent might go, ooh, I kind of might want that. Or I don't want them to have it. You know what I mean? So they'll block out a lot in response to being like, I don't want you to have an agility token. And it will move the tempo into your favor, which is important. That's the reason I have Wage Agility in here. Let me know if you guys like that one. I don't know if I do yet. We only are running the red Wild Rides in here. If I was going to get rid of Wage Agility, if I was going to get rid of Wage Agility, it'd be for yellow Wild Rides. But right now I'm just running the reds. I think they're fine. Again, this is another way for you to go again in this deck. So it's incredibly important. Again, you've got that draw and then discard, which is a way better keyword than just discard. Smash Instinct is another Intimidate card. Most cases, it's block or pitch with this card. If it's the only thing you can do, maybe try pumping it. Maybe try pumping it with Awakening Bellow and then attacking with Smash Instinct. That's another double Intimidate turn. But in most cases, you're probably going to want to just block or pitch with this. The same kind of goes for Wrecker Romp. Wrecker Romp is the only actual 6 attack, 3 block brute card in the deck. Again, you'll see the additional cost to play Wrecker Romp. You have to discard a random card. I don't like that keyword enough for me to want to play it. But in a pinch, if it's available in your line, 6 for 2 isn't terrible. These are Command and Conquer stats without the, Destroy Arsenal and D-React effect. But in most cases, it's usually just blocking and pitching with this card. Or discarding it for effects that are for, beat chest. So this is our commoner deck. This is, I kind of like how this all plays out. You have a lot of attacks, so you have a lot of targets for 6 power beat chest maneuvers or discarding 6s to do things maneuvers. And I think it's a really great way to kind of like pump up your game plan, right? You want to be getting agility tokens most of the time, but luckily from what I know, there's about roughly, 6, 12, 14, 16 technically, 18. There's about 18 cards in here that could possibly get you Go Again or receive Go Again on your next turn. That's right about almost half the deck. This is my commoner deck for Kayo. We're going to go ahead and show you guys what it's like to upgrade this to Clash. Now, Clash, of course, the only difference is that there are rare cards available in the main deck, as well as your weapon can be any rarity, your hero can be any rarity, and you can have mentors of any rarity and specializations. Now, believe it or not much changes with this. We actually are not running any of KO's specializations in the deck because they're kind of bad. The only thing that the new specialization that KO got outside of his helmet was essentially scab skin leathers, but for more resources. So it's very not something I want to run. Until somebody else breaks it, we'll figure it out then. But for the most part, this deck is nearly the same. The only difference is we have a couple additions. Pulping is a new card that we can add in here. It is a rare. Again, this has that draw, discard a random card effect, which we like. And then, of course, if it's a 6, Pulping gets Dominate. And then on top of it, if it's defended by less than 2 non-equipment cards, it has Go Again. So in most cases, you're going to be able to play this, give it Dominate, which will in turn, unless your opponent has Sink Below and or some D-React and then a card from hand, it's going to probably get Go Again, especially towards the end of the game. You want to save a lot of your Dominate stuff for the end of the game or to try and get tempo in your favor. Because if you're able to get Pulping Go Again, you're able to then go ahead and, move into a next turn and really kind of power through. Of course, you can also play Pulping on those agility turns to automatically give it Go Again. So it doesn't matter what your opponent blocks with. You're going to get Go Again on Pulping anyway. So you'll just have a Dominate turn, and it's going to be very, very nice. The other cool thing is if you want a double Dominate turn, you can always go ahead and Pulping into Predatory Assault. Because in most cases, you are going to Pulping, draw a discard. You'll discard a random 6 from your hand. And that then turns on Predatory Assault, which allows you to then attack again with Dominate. So incredibly powerful. Being able to throw out 2 dominated attacks in one turn, very much so gonna destroy a lot of people in Clash. So I'm very curious to see. You'll see the equipment is literally the same. It's the same equipment, same sideboard. Nothing changes there. The only difference is these cards here. And then some cards are not in here. So we switched out the Awakening Bellows and and a couple other cards for Pulping Yellow and Pulping Red, as well as we added in the Wild Ride Yellows. We actually did get rid of the Wage Agility here for that. And then also we have another rare card in here, Savage Feast. Savage Feast is cool because while it plays a lot like those cards that have the just discard a random card and you do a thing, if the discarded card is 6 or more, you draw a card. So in a way, because most of I think literally every card in this deck is a 6 or more, technically, when it's discarded, you will get to draw a card. So in a way, this is 1 for 6 with a draw discard, except it's technically discard draw. So you still get to do stuff on your turn. It's still incredibly powerful. This turns on a lot of stuff for you. We're still running the blue Smash Instinct and the blue Wrecker Romps here. And then we are running the red and blue Pound Towns, the Pack Hunts, the Madcap Chargers. We are only running red and blue Assault and Battery. I think that's just because we have more access to Go Again stuff here, like with Pulping and so on and so forth. It costs less to play Pulping, and in most cases, you're going to get that Go Again. We are running the red and yellow Bare Fangs, and then, of course, the Predatory Assaults, so on and so forth. So not much changes in the side of this deck compared to the Clash version. We're not running any of the Mentors. We're not running some crazy different weapon because there aren't really any better one-handed weapons for Kayo, because Kayo can only use one-handed weapons. I think that this build also does a lot of great stuff. Again, the build in here actually has 20 cards in it that can get Go Again, as opposed to its commoner version, which had, I think, 16 or 18, I said. You're looking at a pretty good amount of still just being able to plow through with 2 6-power attacks, or a 5 and a 6, or however much you want to be. If you have to block out on a really big turn on your opponent, you can always go ahead and then just play a really big attack like Assault and Battery, beat Chest for it, and then if you have the agility, you can play Ball Breaker. Ball Breaker will come in for a break point, and you'll be in a good spot. So that is the deck lists for my Clash and my Commoner deck lists for Kayo. I'm very curious what you guys think. I'm not a Brute main, as I'm sure a lot of you know. You guys, I play a lot of Dromai, at least in Classic Constructed, which I still need to make a deck for in Commoner, or at least an upgraded version of it in Commoner as well as in Clash. But I really wanted to try out this hero and see what they're like. I really like their playstyle. It's very much so just, I don't give a crap about blocking any of your stuff. I'm just going to go hard in the paint, and I'm going to just beat the hell out of my opponent until they have to give me the tempo. And if they don't give me the tempo, I will ruin them. And I feel like that's that's just like the brute way to play, just completely out aggro your opponent. Because in most cases, this is just like playing a very strong ninja that can only go for 2 to 3 attacks, as opposed to playing ninja, which can go for like 6 to 7 chain links. So these are the finalized decks here that I have for them. If you guys have any additions that you'd like to put in for any of these decks, please let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to chit chat with you guys about this. Like I said, I'm no immediate pro, but I do really, really like how these decks turned out. And I feel like they're nearly the same, or work nearly the same as a classic constructed deck would for this, outside of the very powerful super rares and majestics and legendaries that you can get in things like Blitz and Classic Constructed. I feel like this still holds true to what you want the deck to do, and more importantly, continues to push that brute kind of power into these little budget formats that we have here. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I'm going to have the links to the deck lists in the description as well, so you can go ahead and check those out if you are looking to maybe even use this as your own version of a deck list at maybe a locals, or maybe you're playing against some friends and you want to try it out. By all means, feel free to go ahead and use these decks to your advantage, and let me know. Let me know if you guys end up using them and if you end up winning anything with them, because I would love to see whether or not I actually have big brain energy going on up here. But I want to thank you guys so much for watching. It really is a pleasure to be able to bring you guys Flesh and Blood content, especially in the budget format. And keep an eye out, because we're hoping to get more and more stuff out for these heavy hitters heroes, as well as a few others, now that we have a lot more new things entering the fray of Commoner and Clash. So thank you guys so much for watching. I do really appreciate it. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of this budget format stuff for Flesh and Blood. And let me know what hero you guys would like to see next. I'd be more than happy to go ahead and try to get a deck together for your favorite hero, if you have something that you've been wanting to see in these formats. And if you're brand new to Flesh and Blood, we're hoping to get a whole bunch of these videos out for you guys, so that way you can start your journey off on the right foot. So have a great rest of your day. I will see you all very soon. Nerd out.